Hi, Cancer Sun and Rising. Welcome to your December 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. Whoa, we've got a lot going on in December, and I've been seeing astrologers and other kind of energy readers talk about December from the standpoint of the 1221 or 1212 and 1212. I guess they would call them a gateway portal. This is the mirror of the 2012 date when everything was supposed to be ending. The world was going to come to an end, the Mayan calendar, that kind of thing. And of course, as often happens, it's revised after that. But some people would say they never predicted that the world was going to end. That simply that was the end of a certain cycle. And I don't profess to be that aware of all of that, but I do like numbers, and I do think that it's very exciting because of some of these things that they're talking about, but also because I know that there are other things going on too that kind of speak to that. For instance, we have Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius until the very end of December when Jupiter goes back into Pisces. But then, in the next year, Jupiter's going to go into Aries, and that is a whole cycle unto itself, a new cycle starting at Aries. And even with Pluto in Capricorn going into Aquarius, a little bit more than a year from now, that's the age of Aquarius. We could talk about it from that angle. And yeah, some of these things are in the future, but I just think that there's a lot of interesting synchronicities, let's put it that way. So on the first of the month, Neptune goes direct in its own sign of Pisces. So here we have water element that you are compatible with. Your sister water sign, forming a trine to your sun or ascendant. Okay. So Pisces is the water sign before you, so that is going to be in the 9th house. And this is where Neptune has been residing for almost a decade. And of course, I'm doing this in a general way. How it is showing up in your individual chart is going to vary from Cancer to Cancer individual, but including, obviously the rising signs. But Neptune, that's an interesting one. Neptune in the 9th house. What does that even mean? Neptune transiting through the 9th house can certainly mean that if you belong to some kind of organized religion, let's say you've been a lifelong Catholic, and you may even, Catholics, I think Catholics have, in a lot of ways, you could say Catholics have a more mystical orientation than Christians do. And I was raised like a liberal Christian that wasn't really emphasizing the more of the spiritual aspects. It was more of the charitable type of things, kind of like what would Jesus do, and that kind of thing. But Catholics have the different saints, Mother Mary and the archangels. I don't know. Do Catholics have archangels? Maybe I'm mixing things up, but they certainly, I don't know. I think they believe in angels. So what I'm trying to say is that I think that some of you who have these traditional religious views can have some element of mysticism injected into that. And it doesn't have to be incompatible, but it can be, in some cases, a little bit conflicting, confusing. And when Neptune went retrograde, probably back in June or whatever it was, for the last 5 months at least, and then some, that could have left some kind of disillusionment in this area. And by the way, the ninth house is the God house, but it's also the house of higher education, of like foreign travel. And there might have been some disillusionment in this area that you formerly were idealistic about. So, yeah, I mean, an example might be that you had a certain belief that seemed like it got challenged. And we did have a full moon here back in September. I think it was like September 20th in Pisces. And that might have been when everything became clear to you that something was not as you thought it was. And maybe if you have been traveling abroad, something that you thought was going to be so perfect turned out to be other than what you had hoped for. And that's just life. I mean, there's always going to be something that kind of doesn't pan out the way that we're hoping it will, but it doesn't mean that all is lost. And Neptune goes direct on the first of the month, and so you can have more of the, I don't want to just say characterize things as positive or negative, but more of the upbeat kind of way of looking at things, where you are idealistic and you do have faith. Maybe that could be part of it. I don't know. I mean, Neptune is like really believing in something in a very fanciful kind of a way, a dreamy kind of a way. And so it does get more positive, or whatever this thing it was for you, if you even can pinpoint it. On the 4th, we have the solar eclipse. Oh, and one more thing. I've been kind of characterizing the Neptune retrograde as something that has been disillusioning, but actually it might be a reality check. It might be something that has been good for you in a way. On the 4th, we have the solar eclipse at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. Okay, Cancer. So this is your 6th house, okay? And this is an area, this is the last eclipse in Sag, and the cycle of the 6th and the 12th houses is now officially over with. So I want you to reflect on the past 18 months. Have you had any kind of major changes in the area of your job or your daily routine, the schedule? Do you have, for some people, it might have been working a different shift, or not working at all, maybe retirement, or extended unemployment, or parenthood, where you're staying home with your child. And so you're like, while thinking about Cancer as the mother, if you're a woman and you're breastfeeding, or just even whatever, you don't have to be breastfeeding, but you're feeding your child every 2 hours and you're just with your child 24/7, that can be quite a shift in your routine. There's just so many possibilities. So this is a powerful new moon, and so there could be some developments with career matters or health regimens, That's the sixth house can be health, and also awareness of these things. And so having it being put front and center to you so that you see it for what it is can be good. And on the 13th, Mars goes into this area, into Sag. Now, if there's some kind of a drama with coworkers, that can be the sixth house of people that you're working with. Mars here can indicate aggression, can indicate some kind of conflict. So there's a possibility that you find out that the people that you're working with aren't who you thought that they were. And then it's out in the open and you have to deal with it, but it can be a little bit combative, meaning that you're not on the same page, you're not getting along, kind of like the Three of Pentacles in reverse. On the same day, Mercury goes into Capricorn, and there's your opposite sign. So that's the seventh house of committed partnership. That means that Mercury is in that sixth house for almost half the month. And that can maybe have something to do with negotiations. If you have been trying to hammer out a contract with your place of employment, anything along those lines. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that might indicate one thing versus the other. Well, it is true that Cancers have been experiencing Pluto in this sector, in the seventh house for years. So for those Cancers whose marriage, because this is seventh house, or any other kind of like a legal battle, maybe this has been a protracted battle, because Pluto in this sector can be about ruthlessness, power, control, money, that is having to be dealt with. And Mercury can be contracts. So there could be something going on with this. If you're hammering out a divorce kind of, what do you call it? Decree or, whatever agreements. And there will be a new moon in the sector in early 2022. So this might be preparation for having a new beginning in this area, which is divorce in some cases. But this would be, what I'm saying is this is something that might be ongoing, and this is not something that probably will just come out of nowhere, let's put it that way. Because again, Pluto has been here for so many years. On the 18th, we have a full moon at 27 degrees of Gemini. And Gemini is the sign right before you. Cancer, as you know, so that's the 12th house. Whoa. A full moon in the 12th house, this is a water house, like your 4th house and Scorpio's 8th house. This is Pisces domain. And the full moon is so psychic and so much about things coming to a head. But in the 12th house, what can come to a head can be things that are not quite of this world or this reality. This is the house, this is the dream state. This is the unconscious mind. It is a very psychic place, so a full moon here can make things very psychic. But there can be this sense of endings and even like karmic endings. This is at a later degree of Gemini, so there's more of that sense of finality, I guess I would call it. So, Perhaps, this isn't too long after Mercury goes into the seventh house. So maybe there is some connection between those two things. And I mean, I'm sure that I'm triggering some Cancer individuals by even mentioning the word divorce, even if you are having a lot of problems in your primary relationship. Just the idea that somebody could talk about it in such a cavalier manner might rub you the wrong way. But, when you look at it from a different perspective, you can say to yourself, every relationship has a season, and some last a lifetime, but some don't. And it's not like, this isn't about whether you failed or succeeded or are lovable or not lovable. This is just about what you came here to do with that person. And if you can leave that situation with a sense of respect, even if that other person isn't treating you with respect, or if they haven't treated you and they're not really deserving of respect because they didn't do it, you still are taking the high road. But we don't have to see these things as the end of the world, in other words. And so there could be some letting go. This can be great for people who have addictions, Cancer individuals, who have a tendency to be escapists. And I think water signs are like this in particular because of their emotional nature. This is a world that can be quite cold and heartless. And sometimes it can feel like you're just fending for yourself, and that your heart is being torn into little pieces. So being able to find something that is comforting can be a way that people protect themselves from the harshness of life. But if it's taken too far, if it's too habitual, then the person can develop an addiction or just some kind of way that they escape, and it doesn't solve the problem ultimately. It's just kind of like a resistance to whatever's going on. So it's all, it's all relative, and it's all, depending on how much the person is involved in whatever it is. But this can give awareness of it, and also the ability to kind of say goodbye and say, you know what, you served a purpose. This behavior served a purpose to protect me, to soothe me, and now I can let it go because now I'm more whole again. Or just any type of self-defeating patterns can be the 12th house. On the 19th, but also watch your dreams at this time, because you might have some prophetic dreams. You never know. On the 19th, Venus goes retrograde at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So it's in that 7th house. And it's also forming a conjunction with Pluto. So that's very interesting. So look at power plays in relationships. If you are involved with somebody who has narcissistic tendencies, look at that, because that person may try to, if you are like separated, and that's what this Mercury in the 7th is about, like going back and forth or negotiations, but you are separated, and that person comes at you or comes to you with sweetness and light. I mean, I hate to say it, but you should be very wary of it, especially if they have a track record of being abusive or, manipulative or something like that, because Venus retrograde can bring these relationships back. and maybe this is a different individual, who knows? And you thought, oh, I'm going to go with this other person, but it might not be. Maybe this is an ex-husband or wife, and they may present themselves as new and improved versions of themselves, and you might be quite smitten by their charm because they are presenting themselves in this way. And then when Venus goes direct, you're like, what the hell did I just do? Venus is going direct in late January, but it will still be in Capricorn well into the month of March, as I recall. So it's very significant that it's in this area. So it really does feature committed partnership in one way or the other. And even money matters that connect some legal, something legal, or something that is connected to you and another person. That is that can be something that actually benefits you, because just like Jupiter, Venus is considered a benefic planet, so it has that overall good vibes attached to it. And so even when it's retrograding, it can still work on your behalf, in other words. And so it could be coming from old sources. Seventh house is also clients. So you might see that your clients are coming back again. You get some of your old clients back. And money, I'm talking about moolah here, not just harmony, although there can be harmony with them as well. Good vibes. On the 21st, we have the winter solstice, sun into Capricorn, into that 7th. So there you got like a lot going on the 7th. Oh, another thing about the 7th is that it is public relations. And so that can really favor your ability to put the word out about your services or, what you represent. And that can be good for marketing. I don't know if, the house, if there's like one house. I've heard different houses mentioned with marketing, but marketing yourself at the very least can be the 7th. And this is also, I think, good for, I know this sounds like weird, but being your own, not parent, but your own partner in a sense, because the sun is here. So it's almost like learning how to be the best partner to somebody else, not necessarily acting that out, but that can come into your awareness with the sun here, because the 7th house is ruled by Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus. And so that's why it is associated with partnership. But a lot of times people don't really spend enough time contemplating how they want to show up in relationships. It's almost like we think there's some default way of acting. Like if you are married or if you are living with somebody, you do this, that, and the other thing. And the truth is that different people have different values and philosophies as it relates to how they relate to a person one-on-one. And so embodying that and learning what your sweet spot is a good thing, regardless of what your relationship status is. On the 28th, Jupiter goes into Pisces, and that's nice for you, Cancer, because it is in this area that, it is a trine to you, so it makes it easy to manifest things from that area of life, which for Pisces is that ninth house. So you do benefit in the upcoming, I was going to say year, but actually it's not entirely 2022 that you're going to have Jupiter here, because actually Jupiter's going into Aries at some point and is going to be in there for a while and then going back into Pisces. So we can say that Jupiter is going to go into Pisces, into that ninth house, and then even into the 10th house in 2022, and then back into that ninth house. So if we look at those two houses and we look at the philosophical connection to the ninth house, and then we have the career sector, the 10th house, in Aries, those two things might be connected, since Jupiter's going to bless both of those houses. So how many Cancers want to, maybe it has to do with working remotely and being able to travel at the same time. I'll tell you something, if I was in that position, I would be like, if I had the kind of job, I mean, obviously I do in a way, but I mean, if I was somebody who was working, let's say 40 hours a week, and it was like week after week after week, and I could work from any part of the world, I wouldn't be sitting locally. I'd be somewhere else. What's the point of that? Maybe a lot of people have to show up at the office here and there or something. I don't know. But being a digital nomad might be very appealing to you. But if you work in academia, which can be the ninth house, and you have Jupiter transiting that house and then the 10th house, it might be a traveling lecturer or what have you, something like that. So, yeah, and this is at the very end. This is on the 28th, so we go into 2022 with this. And you already have Neptune here, so this is really a great opportunity for Cancer individuals to, explore their spirituality and make it something that is a positive philosophy. Because sometimes when people get involved in belief systems, there's so much of a restrictive nature. Jupiter is about freedom. And so you don't want to be too into something that is creating rigid types of, do's and don'ts. But having more of a positive overall theme, like it's all good. I mean, I'm not talking about moral relativism, but this idea that, you are, coming from the position that you are a good person. And so positive spirituality, in other words. Okay, that's what I have for you, Cancer. I hope that this resonated. I didn't expect to go this long, but I did. If you would like a private reading, please look at the types of readings I offer. My double readings are the best value because you're getting more bang for your buck. And I have a double chart reading called Deep Dive in particular. So the link is below. Take care. Bye.